Hey everyone, and welcome to this new video. In this video we will discuss the topic of light switches, especially durable light switches with Zigbee, which I believe can be reasonably used in a permanent installation. More after the intro. Enjoy! So in my apartment, I am currently using the light switches from IKEA with a 3D printed holder placed over the light switches. The simple reason for that is that they were quite inexpensive back then, and that's why I chose the light switches. But personally, I am very dissatisfied with it in the living room right now because the battery runs out so incredibly quickly that I have to replace them almost every few months. This could be because I have cheap batteries, or for some reason the light switch is running out of power quite quickly. Maybe it is just being pressed relatively often, I don't know. It is certainly quite frustrating when you just want to spend a cozy evening on the sofa and then realize once again that the light switch isn't working. For this reason, I have already looked for several other solutions on this channel. On one hand, I tested the Philips Hue in-wall switch. I have tested various other light switches, but at the end of the day, it always comes to the point where you have to disassemble the light switches and install batteries inside. Finally, I had a solution that at least works a bit better, and that was this toggle switch, which is installed both on the breezes and on the switch. Both are in-wall solutions, actually a very cool option. The only downside is that the box is relatively large, which means you have to make sure to fit it under the light switch and of course also connect it to the lamp above. Furthermore, the light switches remain as they are, and I find that the light switches in this apartment are not particularly attractive and above all extremely chaotic, because it feels like there are different light switches at every single location. So everything looks quite messy. For this reason, I would like to have uniform light switches installed everywhere sooner or later, but preferably without batteries. Of course, there are other systems like KNX or so, but since I am currently using Zigbee and also don't want to run cables everywhere for KNX, which is more worthwhile in new builds, I have ultimately always looked for these light switches here. These are the Friends of You smart switches. What makes them special is that they do not have any batteries installed. One might wonder how that works. I press a light switch here and it sends a Zigbee signal without having batteries installed. Yes, the special feature of these switches is that they generate enough power through the pressure of the switch to send the Zigbee signal once, and thus this switch can essentially recharge itself, meaning it will never run out of power and therefore does not require new batteries. Additionally, this is a System 55 switch, which most people will likely have installed at home. This means that this switch integrates very well into the standard light switch configurations, and that is exactly why I ordered not just one, but 4 of them. And as you can see, I have already unpacked and connected one of them. Nevertheless, I would like to demonstrate this together with you here as an example on a switch to show you what you can do with the switch. Because in addition to a simple on and off switch, you also have a double switch here. This means that you can also operate the whole thing as a double switch. Those who do not want this can remove these 2 individual switches and then take out this simple switch from the box. However, it is important that you connect everything with your smartphone beforehand, as you need these individual switches for both Philips Hue and Decons. But we'll come back to that later. When it comes to the topic of integration into smartphones, you can install them just like regular light switches, using this standard light switch plate, as I will call it, or alternatively with the included adhesive pad directly on the wall. This means that you are not limited to just replacing existing light switches, but could theoretically also add additional light switches where there were none before. It's relatively easy to add. The light switches are available in both white and black. I ordered both color variants to compare them. 2001, but now I would say, let's see how we can integrate this into the smart home at all. In my case, it's of course Zigbee QTT, but theoretically, it works quite similarly with Decons. The Philips Hue installation is simply outlined in the instructions. So to pair the switch, we need to go into the Zigbee to MQTT interface, and then we have to check which channel Zigbee to MQTT or Decons is using here. You can easily check this under Settings 2001, under Settings and then under Advanced. Then you see Zigbee channel 11 here, and here you can see which switch you need to press and hold for 10 seconds to select the corresponding channel for the switch. I will demonstrate this here as an example. Channel 11 is the button 3 on the top right. I will hold it down for 10 seconds and then press button 3 and 2. Meanwhile, I go here to Zigbee to MQTT and click on Activate Pairing. As you can see, a new device has been added here. I can see it down here now as well. That means the switch has already been added. I simply went into the MQTT Explorer and was able to see which signals were being sent. So here you see the address, and when I press here, it is for press or free release because I pressed the fourth one. If I press the third one, it is 1000 for the 3. Since I want to integrate this as a double switch, I will now simply press both buttons at the same time, and then you will see that 1 and 3 have been pressed, or rather 1 and 3 have been released. These are the commands that are being sent here. What we need to do now is go into Home Assistant, access the settings, and create a new automation under Automation. As a trigger, I add a new MQTT message, which of course contains the topic of the switch as the topic and as payload. I include press 1 and 3, and then I add another message with press 2 and 4. It is very important to add an ID at the top, specifically 1 and 2, and then under Actions to specify that if option 1, meaning if button 1 and 3 are pressed, then it should, for example, the office light should be turned off for action 1, and for action 2, the office light should be turned on. Now we can save everything, calling it Test Automation for saving the video. And when I press the button now, the light goes off. If I press the other button, the light comes back on. And that's how easily you have created an automation in Home Assistant for this switch. Now the switch just needs to be mounted on the wall. And then you have installed your new light switches. I will definitely include the link to the switches in the video description below. However, this switch has two disadvantages. First, you have to press it a bit harder than a standard light switch. You just have to get used to it. Personally, it doesn't bother me now, but I just wanted to point it out to you. And point number 2 is that this switch definitely belongs to the more expensive light switches. So one should be aware that they need to spend a bit more money. This way you have peace of mind with the light switches, never have to replace the batteries again, and can operate them virtually indefinitely. So that should be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe even found it helpful. If so, I would really appreciate a rating. And then I would say see you in the next video. Until then, take care and goodbye.